The tears streamed down his weathered face as he stood on his porch, staring at the old widow next door. Her frail hand rested on his shoulder, and with a voice soft as a summer breeze, she whispered 6 words that shattered the walls around his broken heart. "You're not alone, we've been waiting." In that moment, everything changed. But how did a battle-hardened veteran, a single dad teetering on the edge of despair, find himself here? Stick around to the end of this story, it's going to hit you right in the feels. And if it does, hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Jasper Harlan had always been the strong one. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, he was the kid who fixed everyone's bikes, the high school quarterback who led his team to state championships, and the young man who enlisted in the Army right after graduation because he believed in something bigger than himself. "Duty calls," he'd say with that easy grin, the one that made his high school sweetheart, Marisol, fall head over heels. They married young, had a beautiful daughter named Talia just before his first deployment. Life was a whirlwind of love letters, video calls from dusty bases, and dreams of a quiet life back home. But war doesn't care about dreams. Jasper's unit was ambushed in the rugged mountains of Afghanistan. Explosions ripped through the convoy, and in the chaos, he lost brothers in arms he'd sworn to protect. He dragged 2 wounded soldiers to safety, earning a Purple Heart and a chest full of shrapnel that doctors said would ache forever. Worse than the physical scars were the invisible ones, the nightmares that jolted him awake, screaming names of the fallen, the hypervigilance that made every car backfire sound like gunfire, the guilt that whispered he should have done more. When Jasper finally came home after 3 tours, Marisol was waiting with open arms. But the man she hugged wasn't the same. He flinched at loud noises, snapped over small things, and stared into space for hours. Talia, now 5, would tug at his sleeve, asking why Daddy didn't play anymore. Marisol tried, God, she tried, but the strain was too much. One rainy night, after another argument fueled by his untreated PTSD, she packed her bags. "I love you, Jasper, but I can't watch you destroy yourself," she said through tears. She took Talia to her parents' house across state lines, promising visits but needing space. Just like that, Jasper was alone in the house they'd bought together, a single dad with partial custody and a soul fractured beyond repair. The first few months back were a blur of VA appointments, job hunts, and empty beer cans. Jasper landed a gig as a mechanic at a local garage, fixing engines because it was the only thing that made sense. Machines didn't judge, didn't die on you if you turned your back. But the pay was meager, and bills piled up like unexploded ordnance. The mortgage loomed, utilities threatened shutoff, and Talia's visits were the only light in his darkening world. She'd bounce in with her pigtails and drawings of Daddy the hero, but even those weekends were tainted. Once, during a thunderstorm, Jasper dove under the kitchen table, pulling Talia with him, mistaking the thunder for mortar fire. She cried, confused and scared, and he hated himself more than ever. Isolation crept in like fog over a battlefield. Neighbors kept their distance, whispers about that vet who's always yelling at night. Jasper's pride kept him from asking for help. He'd survived war, damn it, he could survive this. But inside, he was crumbling. Sleepless nights turned into days where he barely ate, his once muscular frame wasting away. He thought about ending it more than once, staring at his service pistol in the drawer, but Talia's face stopped him every time. "What kind of father leaves his little girl?" he'd mutter, slamming the drawer shut. Across the fence lived Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, an 82-year-old widow who'd buried her husband, a Korean War vet, decades ago. Her house was a relic of better times, faded blue shutters, a garden bursting with roses she'd tended since the 60s. Eleanor had watched Jasper's family unravel from afar. She'd seen Marisol leave with Talia in tow, heard the muffled shouts through thin walls on bad nights. Her own Harold had come home changed too, distant, haunted by memories of frozen trenches. She'd learned patience then, the kind that weathers storms. Eleanor baked cookies for the neighborhood kids, volunteered at the local VFW, and kept an eye on folks who seemed lost. Jasper was one of them. At first, their interactions were fleeting. A wave over the fence as he mowed the lawn, a polite nod when she collected her mail. But Eleanor noticed things: the overgrown yard, the dim lights in his windows, the way he carried himself like a man carrying the weight of the world. One crisp autumn morning, as leaves swirled in the wind, she decided enough was enough. She knocked on his door with a plate of warm apple pie, the kind with cinnamon that filled the air like a hug. Jasper opened the door, bleary-eyed from another rough night. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked, his voice gruff but not unkind. "Just being neighborly," Eleanor replied with a smile that crinkled her eyes. "Name's Eleanor. Saw you out there fixing that old truck. My Harold used to tinker with cars too." Jasper took the pie, mumbling thanks, but he didn't invite her in. He wasn't ready for company, for pity. Still, the pie was damn good, reminded him of his mom's baking back when life was simple. The next week, she left a basket of garden vegetables on his porch with a note, fresh from the earth. "Eat up, soldier." He chuckled despite himself, the first real laugh in months. As winter approached, Jasper's challenges mounted. A brutal snowstorm hit, and his ancient furnace gave out. He bundled up in blankets, teeth chattering, too stubborn to call for help. Talia's visit was cancelled due to the weather, leaving him alone with his demons. That night, the nightmares were vicious: flashes of sand and blood, echoes of screams. He woke up sweating, heart pounding, and punched the wall in frustration, splitting his knuckles. The next morning, a knock echoed through the cold house. It was Eleanor, bundled in a wool coat, holding a thermos of hot coffee and a space heater from her garage. "Heard your furnace rattling last night," she said matter-of-factly. "This'll tide you over till you get it fixed." Jasper stared, torn between gratitude and shame. "I don't need charity, Mrs. Hayes." "It's not charity, dear. It's what neighbors do. Harold would have done the same." She pushed past him gently, setting up the heater in the living room. As it hummed to life, warming the air, she sat on the worn couch and patted the seat beside her. "Sit. Talk to an old lady for a minute." Reluctantly, he did. Words tumbled out slowly at first: the war, the losses, Marisol's departure, the fear he was failing Talia. Eleanor listened without interruption, her eyes kind but not pitying. She shared stories of Harold, how he'd wake up swinging at shadows, how she'd hold him through the nights, how time and small acts of kindness had pulled him back. "You survived hell over there," she said softly. "But surviving here? That takes a different kind of courage. Asking for help ain't weakness, Jasper. It's smart soldiering." Their conversations became routine. Eleanor invited him for Sunday dinners, pot roast and stories of yesteryear. She helped with Talia on visit weekends, teaching the girl how to bake cookies while Jasper watched, a flicker of joy returning to his eyes. He started opening up to a VA therapist she recommended, chipping away at the PTSD. But doubts lingered: the house payments were late, his job unstable. One evening, after a particularly bad day where his boss chewed him out for spacing out, Jasper confided his deepest fear: losing the house, losing custody of Talia for good. "I feel like I'm drowning, Eleanor," he admitted, head in hands. "Like no one sees me anymore. I'm just broken." She nodded, her wise eyes glistening. "I see you, Jasper. We all do, if you'd let us." Spring brought renewal, but also crisis. The bank sent a foreclosure notice, 3 months behind on the mortgage. Jasper panicked, isolating himself again, skipping dinners with Eleanor. Talia's birthday was coming up, and he had nothing to give her but apologies. That night, he sat on the porch, staring at the stars, wondering if he should just give up. Eleanor appeared like a guardian angel, crossing the yard with purposeful steps. She didn't knock, she just stood there, waiting until he looked up. "Jasper," she said, her voice steady. "Come with me." Confused, he followed her to her house. Inside, the living room was filled with people, neighbors he'd barely spoken to, folks from the VFW, even his boss from the garage. Tables groaned with food, a banner read, "Welcome home, hero," and in the corner, Talia beamed, holding a cake. Marisol was there too, eyes soft with regret. "What is this?" Jasper stammered, throat tight. Eleanor placed her hand on his shoulder. "We heard about the house. The neighborhood pitched in, fundraiser at the VFW, donations from folks who've been where you are. Enough to catch up on the mortgage and then some. And Marisol, she wants to try again, if you're willing." Tears welled up as Talia ran into his arms. The room erupted in cheers, but Jasper could only stare at Eleanor. "How? Why?" he whispered. She smiled, leaning in close. "You're not alone, we've been waiting." Those 6 words hit like a lifeline. In them, he heard acceptance, community, hope. He'd been fighting solo, but here was his squad, neighbors who'd seen his pain and stepped up. The money saved the house, the support saved his spirit. Therapy intensified, Marisol moved back in stages, and Jasper started volunteering at the VFW, paying it forward. Months later, Jasper stood tall at Talia's school play, Marisol by his side, Eleanor in the front row. Life wasn't perfect, scars don't vanish, but he was healing. The nightmares faded, replaced by dreams of family barbecues and quiet evenings. If this story touched you, remember, kindness can change everything. One act, one word, one neighbor.